This is Thank You Mama, weekly lessons from mothers all around the world. Hello and welcome to Thank You Mama. My name is Anna Teider. My guest today is Jennell Lynch. Jennell is the founder and CEO of the Executive Doula Agency. I'm so excited to talk about the Executive Doula. But Jennell is also a mother of 4 and a wife. And Jennell's oldest son just graduated from high school. Jennell, welcome and congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you for having me as well. I'm super excited for this conversation.
I'm excited as well. You must be such a proud mama. We just talked about it very shortly. It must be amazing when you have 4 and then the first one graduates from high school.
Yes, I tell people it's an emotional roller coaster. It's the first one graduated from high school, off to college. And then I have 2 years right behind him headed that way. So me and my husband are super proud of him, excited about his journey into college as an athlete as well. So yes. So it's been a journey to get him there, especially during a pandemic. I must say that's like a whole nother podcast conversation.
Yes. I know. I have cousins who graduated during the pandemic and they missed on so much. And it's hard. I feel very sorry exactly for that generation. It's really, really hard for them.
It's hard. It's, you know, what's interesting, I told some people they're actually the babies that were born during or after 9/11. Mm-hmm. So they were born into like a tragic situation with the world, and then they're graduating and becoming adults during a pandemic. It's very interesting.
It is. But hey, bright times are ahead. We're getting vaccinated.
Yeah.
And I'm so excited about that. I'm excited to start hugging people. I miss people and I miss hugging people.
You sound like me. I'm a hugger too. So I'm a toucher and a hugger. So squeezing shoulders.
Me too. Yes, me too. But Jennell, I want to ask you so many things and don't know where to start. I don't know if I should start asking about how did you manage to be a mom of 4 and have your own business, or do I want to start with Executive Doula because I find this concept so fantastic? Let's start with you. How did you manage it?
So interestingly enough, and it kind of goes into why Executive Doula actually was started too. So the story kind of goes together. I actually have an interesting career path of working across multiple industries. So sports and entertainment, politics, technology, and then finance. And in each industry, I actually had a baby. So I've experienced being pregnant. I know, it's so crazy. I've experienced being pregnant, giving birth, and working in male-dominated industries as a woman, but still creating a support network and system for myself that allowed me to thrive in my career. And what I recognize is that so many women did not have those type of resources or those people around them that continue to support them and push them to not tap out in those moments where you're like, this is all too much. Like, I need to just think about home, or I need to just think about my child. Like, there's no way I can have a career and do both. Whereas I was I actually had a great network of women internally at my jobs who had been there, done that. And then also a great network of family and friends externally who were like, yes, you can do this. We will support you in whatever you need. And they pushed me and they mentored me and guided me. And essentially, it's why I ultimately started Executive Doulas, that I recognized there were so many women in the finance industry in particular who were tapping out once they had kids. And that what I do know is that that's no way to close the gender gap. We will continue to look for senior women at the top, but if they can tap out when they have kids, we will always have this problem of a lack of women in finance.
Mm-hmm. And every other business.
Every
as
business,
soon as the woman
industry
has a child, it's more complicated for her, to put that in a simple way, in any industry.
It's more
Yeah.
complicated, especially for first time mothers. When you've been used to operating solo by yourself, working certain hours, kind of creating your own agenda, and then you have this new little person that
Mm-hmm.
you have to care for,
Mm-hmm.
and literally, naturally, all of your energy and concerns, and is surrounded by this little person that you have to figure out how to make those adjustments. And I think that's hard. And it's hard when we've been taught to compartmentalize our lives. So work stays in a box, home stays in a box,
Mm-hmm.
kid stays in a box.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's hard to talk about it all in one conversation. And I found that when you have people and you work for a company, or, you're in an industry where it's okay, where they're actually empowering you to talk about both, it reduces the anxiety. Reduces the stress around mothering and being a working mother.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Jennell, so your background is in finance.
Yes. So my skill set and trade, I would say I am a marketing, communications, and operations professional. I spent the past decade in the private equity space, helping women and minority firms raise capital themselves. And then prior to that, I worked for a mobile software company. Also worked for the NFLPA, and I used to be then Senator Hillary Clinton's deputy press secretary. So
Oh,
my
wow.
my career path is very interesting.
Um, but let's go back to executive doula. So,
Yes.
what does executive doula really do? I understand that it helps both working mothers and organizations to basically meet the needs of working mothers. Is that correct? Or
That is correct. That is spot on. And I think when most people, though, who are familiar with the role of a doula, you think of that one-on-one relationship and that person that's helping you find your voice through pregnancy and labor. They're educating not only the birthing person, but also their spouse or their partner. They're there with you to coach you and support you during labor, and then they check on you postpartum. And what I've done is created what we call an executive doula. So this is someone who does all of those basic functionalities of a doula, but we've layered on almost like that career coaching part of it that kicks in postpartum. So after you've had the baby for a full year, because what I do know, and research and studies have shown this, is that women's anxiety and the stress really kicks in when it's time to go back to work. And we all know no one is really checking on the mother. The baby goes back to the pediatrician for all its follow-up visits and shots during that first couple years. But the woman only goes back if you've had, no complications once or twice. And then after that, it's like, all right, great. Good luck with the baby. I hope you know what to do.
it's so true.
Yeah.
So
And
true.
I believe that women also need that attention. They need someone that's putting eyes on them, that's checking in on their well being. Basic things. Have you taken a shower this week? Like, how is your house? Or has your laundry basket been sitting around for 4 days now? I mean, those are small things that as a doula, you're actually trained to look out for, where stress starts to set in, when postpartum depression starts to creep up on women by their behavior, by the activity, by how they're taking care of themselves and, the baby. So those are some things we look at, but we also look at it in granular detail when they head back to work.
Do women employ you, or do companies employ you for their female employees?
Yep. So it's a company. It's a B2B business, whereas most doulas actually work with people individually. I'm on a mission of truly helping companies retain their female talent by offering these type of additional resources.
That's amazing. But you know what's crazy? Every company should have it. It sounds so luxurious and amazing, but it should be a norm.
It should be a norm. You're absolutely right. And, that's one of the things when I initially started the company and talking to potential partners and investors and even some clients, a lot of people actually saw doulas as a luxury item. And I was like, it shouldn't be a luxury. The support women need, it's a basic need. If we want them to continue to truly thrive, Why not support this type of need? And the other reason it's a B2B business model is because I feel like we pay for enough stuff ourselves. Companies already offer benefits that people do not fully utilize. And whereas this service is actually a proactive hands-on service, it's not something that's waiting for somebody to raise their hand and say they need help. We engage before the help is actually needed. And we should not have to pay for that.
You know, I keep on thinking when I talk to women about this topic, how we have this phrase that it takes a village to raise a child, and how we know that the villages have disappeared. And one of the major problems women have, or young mothers have nowadays, is isolation. The fact that until very recently, women had mothers-in-law, cousins, sisters, you know, to help them in this situation. And now women are stuck at home alone with a baby. But we still haven't accepted the fact that this village is gone and that now we have to pay for the village. You know, that we're still embarrassed, or the idea seems crazy that we now, something that used to be part of a family and taken for granted, that now it needs to be paid for.
Exactly. It's, and it's interesting. And once you understand in different cultures how they nurture, the new mom and the baby, and they continue to nurture the mother after the baby is born. And you look at some of the practices like in the United States, where the isolation is actually debilitating.
Yeah.
And there's a true financial bottom line impact to that. And I think the pandemic has exposed the cracks in that even more, but it's definitely a problem that has been occurring well before the pandemic. And with working mothers, I feel like you're moving so fast trying to, care for your family, trying to make money to take care of yourself and your family. You don't even have the time or the means to slow down enough to recognize what's happening. And it's kind of why I also, myself and my partner, we created this service, is because they need the village. You need the network of people around you to help you slow down, to help you create the hands that help with different areas. Because a lot of times working mothers aren't going to slow down enough until what we say, like the ceiling of the floor falls from up under you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We go and go until we can't go anymore. And at that point, it's too late. So my goal is to get ahead of that before you crash and burn. Yep.
Jennell, before we start talking about Mama Bonnie, one more point which I find fascinating and so interesting is, I see that you're involving fathers more and more in this topic and talking about the father's side of the story. And I absolutely think that's the right way, and why Europe is now trying to force men to go on paternity leave, because they're the second side of the coin in this whole story. And women, we just need their support, and they need to take an equal share of responsibility and willingness to change in that.
Yes, absolutely. Oh my goodness. So throughout my career, and I think it's just a natural thing of one having a lot of uncles and having brothers and my dad. I've been used to men talking about birth and seeing how engaged they are in the process, and just kind of know everything that a woman knows. And working, I have always been very vocal about like my kids and my family when I was pregnant. And I asked other men who, tell me they have kids. I'm like, oh my goodness, tell me about your wife's pregnancy, or tell me about labor. And I have had so many times for men to tell me, no one has never asked me that question. Almost as if to the point where they think people don't care. And I've even talked to my husband about this. Like, hey, do you talk to the men, your colleagues and your coworkers about like when they have babies? And he was like, yeah, kind of. Some people don't want to talk about it. Some people are nervous and scared. So I wanted to take the veil off of that scariness around the topic of men discussing birth and pregnancy, because honestly, their perspective and their observations sometimes are more clear than a woman's, because we're in it, because we're anxious, because we're anticipating pain, because we're anticipating so much. They actually have the clear head, and they can retell a story clearer than a woman can. And so Executive Doula, we actually just launched at the end of May, this entire series called His Birth Stories. And we've been interviewing men, just asking them a couple of questions to tell us about their birth stories from their perspective, whatever aspect of it that you think is interesting. And I cannot wait for all the stories to be published because they are very interesting, from very funny ones to very serious ones. Um, but they're a true ally in all of this. So we must embrace their opinions and their stories and thoughts.
But Jennell, I here's an idea for the next series would be their stories of incorporating work and career and children, because women
absolutely.
always get asked this question and men never get asked, how do you do this? I think that would be a great idea for the next series.
I love it. Absolutely. And it's so funny. So me and my husband one time did an IG live, just us two. We just happened to be having this conversation in the car. And I was like, we got to go live with this because I think men will not admit this. And I asked him, why didn't he take paternity leave as long as he could? He took the typical like couple of days, like, all right, babe, you're good. See you later. And he told me, he said by the fourth child, he had it down packed. Like he wasn't scared and he was good. But he said the first one, he was actually nervous, like to be at home, like because he didn't know what to do. So for him, it was like, okay, going back to work just seemed like the next best thing. Like, let me just go back to work and keep making some money and do what I know I can do and I'm comfortable with. And so I think for a lot of men, that definitely would be hard to admit, whatever the reason is. But I think being comfortable knowing what to do and what not to do is a hard thing for them. So you're absolutely right. It would be interesting to hear different perspectives around how do they balance work and being a new dad.
Exactly.
Yep.
Oh, we could talk forever, Jennell. Let's talk about Mama Bonnie. Will you tell me a little bit about her, where she's from, and what's her story?
Absolutely. So my mother, Bonnie, is from Lynchburg, Virginia, and a mother of 3 and a career social worker. And she is actually one of 6 children herself. And my grandmother is actually one of 13. So I come from a large family. And out of that 13, there were 11 girls. So not only do I come from a large family, I come from a large family of women.
That's beautiful.
And so I give you all of that background to just kind of give you the scope of the nurturing parts of me. That it's kind of ingrained in my DNA and it's very natural. And actually a lot of women in our family are social workers and therapists and school teachers and nurses. So they all reside on that caring for others, type of role. And I tell you, my mom wanted me to go to school to become a social worker. And I was just like, absolutely not. And I think when I was younger and I was in high school, just seeing her be a foster care worker and a social worker for the elderly, just seeing the emotional toll it takes. And she is a social worker to her heart. Like literally, I have given like the clothes and coats and shoes off of me to give to another child in the moment.
Oh, wow. I'm sorry to interrupt you, but one of my guests spoke about her mom, who was a social worker, who created social work in Iran, actually. And she mentioned it, what I loved. She said, you have to have a social worker gene. And she said exactly the same thing. She's like, I watched my mom do these things and her friends and her colleagues, and I recognized you have to have this gene. You can't just...
No.
You have to be built for it. Not everybody's built for it. Yeah.
Yep, absolutely. And it's interesting when I hear people talk about broken social work systems and things like that, I'm like, because people are employed who are not true social workers. Yeah. It takes a different type of person for sure. Absolutely. So that's kind of in a nutshell. I mean, she's a huge community advocate as far as I can remember. I mean, being in kindergarten, I actually remember going to the Boys and Girls Club with her when she would do group work with families and parents. And I would just sit in and listen to all the group therapy and work she would do, to traveling with her to different types of conferences for people who were sickle cell anemia. I mean, she's always involved me and my brother and my sister in all the work she does and pushed us to make sure we did a lot of community and volunteer work. And to this day, I do the exact same thing. I'm a heavy volunteer in our area. My kids also do a lot of volunteer work, but I think it's just natural. It's just like what we grew up with and it's in our DNA.
Oh, it's so beautiful. Beautiful. So she worked And raised 3 kids.
She did.
Did she have help from family or?
She did. She had help from her mother and all of her aunts. Being that she had 11 aunts,
Mm-hmm.
some of them were actually her age. So she actually went to college with 2 of her aunts. So it's an interesting family dynamic,
Yes.
but it's very hands-on. Like we're all very close.
Mm-hmm.
And each other kind of help each other raise, the kids. So she always had help. I remember in the summer times going to my grandmother's and my aunts for weeks and months. And, as a child, you think, oh, we're getting away as a vacation, but it probably was really to give my mom a break.
Yeah.
So she could get herself together.
How is she doing now? Is she retired?
She is. She just retired, interestingly, like 2 years ago, around the same time as I was starting Executive Doula.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So it's so funny. I always joke with her and say, you know what? You retired just in time to help me with my kids so I can be an entrepreneur.
I love it.
She honestly has done it. Like we're only an hour away. And whenever I need anything, she drives up. Even during the pandemic where, we were trying to keep our distance.
Mm-hmm.
She would meet me on the highway like 30 minutes in with bags of food, of dinner already prepared because she did not want me to stress about cooking.
Oh, that's amazing.
Crazy. I know. And I would be like, Mom, this is way too much. She was like, no, the kids are doing virtual learning. I don't want you to be stressed about cooking. So at least just come and meet me and grab some food for the next couple of days. And that's just the type of person that she is. Like unlimited support. She would go well beyond that if I would let her. But sometimes I'm like, relax. Like you have been helping people your entire career. Like I just want you to relax.
But yes, now I understand how you do it all with a mom like this. You can rule the world.
Yeah. And let her tell it. She will be trying to make me rule the world.
I love it. So let's talk about her lessons.
Yes. So I would say one of the most important things was to reach high and don't hold back. Like nothing is out of your purview to accomplish. And a quick story to back that one up would be after college, I wanted to go immediately into graduate school, but it was so much with my job. And then once I started having kids, it was just like, okay, going to graduate school doesn't even make sense anymore. And she honestly pushed me to go back to graduate school to the point where she went back and enrolled in the same program. Yes. So we got our master's degrees together. And I was pregnant with baby number 3 when I was in school. And I remember there were a couple classes and seminars where I couldn't attend. Or it was just too much. And she was like, don't worry about it. We're in the same program. I'll give you the notes. We'll talk about it on Sunday. And that's honestly how I got through being pregnant and having a newborn and graduating with my master's degree. And after that, my sister went back and got her master's degree because it was just like, okay, my mom and my sister did it. I have to do it. So she definitely, not only does she pushes you and encourage you and tell you can accomplish whatever you want to, she leads by example in that way. Mm-hmm. Like if you think you can't do it, watch me do it. And then you got to do it. I would say another lesson is, and similar to that point, is that you are the only obstacle in your way. Pretty much, there are no excuses for not accomplishing what you want to accomplish. And being that you have this family, you have a net that if something happens and you fall or you fail, there really is no failure because you have this group of people who are going to catch you and help you succeed. And so that's another thing she's always kind of drilled in myself and my siblings. And then I would say the third, but really the most important thing, and we probably touched on this a little bit, is that the welfare of others, those you do not know that you're not connected to, is just as, if not more important than those that you are connected to. Because we have to care for each other as a human race. People don't have to believe in the same religion. They don't have to look like you. They don't have to live near you. But you have to care for their well-being just as much you care for your own. And she's definitely a living and breathing example of that in so many ways. I have like thousands of examples. I have witnessed her. It's so funny. A recent one before the pandemic, we were at a bank together out of town, and she was just, going to the ATM machine to make a withdrawal. And a woman walks out talking about, oh, her son, she couldn't find her son some t-shirts. It was the wintertime. She couldn't find herself some t-shirts, and he was little. My mom literally had t-shirts for one of my sons in her trunk that she had bought at Target, takes out the t-shirts and was like, oh, ma'am, oh my gosh, I have some right here. I'm pretty sure your son could fit them. Literally gives this brand new pack of t-shirts to this woman who we have no idea about. She just overheard her talking about it. And I was just like, Mom, this is so random. But but it's literally the kind of person she is. And me and my sister have countless stories of her doing that in stores, in public. Like if she has something, it's anybody else's around hers who need it. Even if it's to her detriment, she will give what she has to others. It's just amazing. And it's something that I find myself naturally doing without even thinking about it, because it's just, it's what I know and it's what I've learned.
But Jennell, I've really, that became very clear to me during COVID. And for me, that's one of the most important lessons I've learned, and I hope we learn through COVID, is that the world became such a tiny, small place through globalization and traveling and everything, that it seriously directly impacts us. What happens to people now, in this case in China or in India, has really a direct impact 2 weeks later on our lives here in the USA. And we really have to learn from Mama Bonnie that it's interesting that the world became too small of a place not to take care of people who we are not directly connected to. Absolutely. Because we are all too interconnected right now. Our destinies, our health, our environment, our well-being in any shape or form. So that's a very, very big one, I think.
It is. And I hope that this global pandemic has opened more eyes to that and exposed people to that. Because politics can definitely tear that away from each other, from one another. Easily.
You divide and rule, that's the old, exactly, the old
exactly.
rule. But let's talk about what she did not teach you. If there was anything you wish she was able to teach you.
I would say one of those most notable things is self-care. And as you can imagine, because of who she is and because of being a social worker and that giving heart, she was so busy always giving of herself that I didn't see her take care of herself as much as she should have. And I think I learned that like the hard way through being a working mom and like crashing and burning, like, oh my God, like I need to go get my hair done, just doing regular things for herself. She definitely had fun. And, our family is like a big family fun and always got together, but I never saw those things to just focused in on herself and nurturing herself, whether it's like regular, go get your hair done, get your nails done, just take a break. Don't talk to someone, go for a walk for an hour and not talk to anybody. Like she's constantly figuring out how to, even to this day, she's constantly figuring out who needs help, how to help them. Whether it's in town, out of town, whatever. And so I think that would be the biggest lesson that she didn't teach, that I now as an adult understand why she wasn't doing it, but I wish she would have done, I wish she would have done it.
Are you managing it? Are you managing to take care of yourself?
I would say I could be definitely doing a better job, but in this, as you can imagine, being in this cycle of being an entrepreneur, having 4 kids, virtually learning, doing a pandemic, and I'm also in a doctoral program myself. I'm a full-time doctoral student. It is a lot. So I say if I manage to sleep 6 hours a night, that is self-care.
Oh, wow. You are doing it all.
So I'm a student at night. I work during the day up until probably 6, 7 o'clock. I'm off running with the kids and all of their thousands of activities. And then I turn into a student from like 10 until 1 o'clock in the morning, reading and writing again.
No.
Jennell, but it's temporary.
It is, but do take care of yourself a little bit, please, please.
I do. I definitely do what I can. One thing I definitely miss that I did on a regular basis is hot yoga. Like I'm a yogi for sure. And once I started this doctoral program, it was like I'm trying to make a decision. Do I sleep in or do I get up and go to yoga? And of course, I chose to sleep in once I, had this business I had to run. But I'm gonna get back to it. I love the owners of the studio I go to. They stay in touch. They're like, "Hey, Jennell, you need to get over here. We know you need this."
Oh, that's nice.
So I'm gonna get it back into practice because it definitely was my way of having some self-care in my life.
Jennell, this was such a fascinating talk. Thank you so much. Is there anything we missed or anything I missed? Anything else you'd like to add or mention?
I would just say for the listeners out there, if you would definitely just follow Executive Doula. We're on Instagram. We're constantly not just promoting our services, but just the need and resources for women all over the world. Also, if you're interested, check out our website. It's Executive Doula, DOULA.com for more information. And I just look forward to staying engaged with everyone.
Yes, and we'll put the links in the episode notes so everybody can just click on those and find
excellent.
you. If we did not miss anything, let's recap very quickly. So we have lessons from Mama Bonnie, which is reach high and don't look back.
That's right.
Nothing is out of reach. The only obstacle in your way is yourself. And here I made a little note. I have a little sub lesson, if you would allow me. I loved how you talk about family in this context, and how the family is a net to catch you if you fail.
Yes.
I love that. I want to put the importance of family as one of Mama Bonnie's lessons.
Yes.
And then we have the welfare of others being just as important as those whom you know and love and who are close to you. And we talked about how we've learned this through COVID on a global scale. And then something she did not teach you, being the big caregiver she was, is self-care and how important that is. That's everything I've written down. Do you have anything else?
No, I think you captured it all. That was a lot in a short period of time.
Wonderful. Jennell, thank you again. Thank you so much for sharing Mama Bonnie's lessons and your fantastic work and everything you do. Very inspiring.
Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
If you enjoy Thank You Mama and want to help it grow, please take the 2 seconds to leave a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts. It really helps. If you'd like to get in touch, you can send me a mail at info@thankyouMama.net. You can also find me on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter under Anna Teider. That's TAJDER. This was Thank You Mama. Come back next week, subscribe, and tell your friends.